I was on Twitter today, and Nicholas Diorio popped up into my feed. Why did he pop up into my feed? Because I guess he didn't like this critique on MrGirl. I think I've seen a couple of things before. I think I see Nick post a thing where MrGirl was doing a conversation panel and somebody instantly left because he came in there. By the way, I can see why. He's quite a provocative figure, okay? And in their conversation, he was being kind of rude to her. So maybe she's a bad taste in her mouth. Anyway, this is what we saw. Okay? Okay, let me get rid of that for a second. This is what the clip is, then we're going to watch her full video.
Probably the best thing that you could do.
Also, keep in mind that I don't know Max's background, but he is not working class as far as I know.
Okay.
He comes from, his dad's a psychiatrist, I think, and his grandfather was one, or psychiatrist. I don't remember.
Right.
And then he went to college for psychology as well. Okay. So, and they're a Jewish, like, I don't know if there's like affluency here, but like they have like this cultural background. It makes sense. I don't know how he grew up. I don't know who.
Why does the Jewish matter?
Pays his bills. I don't know how he makes money. He has one client still as a fitness instructor. I heard recently. I don't.
Okay, and Nick said, out of all the MrGirl critiques I've seen, this is by far the worst. Okay, interesting. So I'm curious. So we're gonna watch it. It's an interesting thing. So yeah, this is from Brittany Simon. It's called Brittany Simon believes MrGirl has no values. I'm going to assume it's clickbait. I'm not sure if they are or aren't friendly. At the end of the conversation, they seemed friendly. Maybe she has a second thought. I don't really know, but. Your favorite Jewish person is me? Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. That's really nice. I'm ethnically a bit Jewish from my father's side, so I take no offense to anything because, you know, I'm a passing normal person. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I'm not. I'm ethnically Jewish, I believe, but I'm not spiritually.
I kind of have this theory that maybe the world would be better if we didn't have, like, we couldn't help people unless they asked for it.
Oh, that'd be good.
Like, I almost think the world would be better if we couldn't help people unless they explicitly asked for it. Because sometimes I think, like Max going after Dr. K, which is so obviously personally motivated. He says it in his talk with Not So Erudite.
I don't know anything about Dr. K. I keep seeing that he doesn't like Dr. K for whatever reason. I don't really know the specifics, but okay.
He literally says, this is about me. This is something I love that I think Dr. K is ruining, and I have the right to report him to the board. And I think that is so fucking narcissistic, but fine. If you think your values are objective, I can understand why he's doing that. But he claims he doesn't necessarily. But that's the thing, right? Most people think that way. Most people are like Max, where they think, I have the answer, and I think I'm different, and I think I'm special, and I think I'm going to get on the internet and be super weird, but your takes are all the same as everyone else's. His takes are the same as my mother's. His takes are the same as every fucking conservative I've ever met.
Holy shit. It sounds like Brittany's a little... It sounds like she's got a little personal vendetta against Max. I guess I see what she's saying, because I've seen some of his takes. You know what's interesting about is my internet off? What's happening? You know what's interesting about MrGirl is obviously everybody has opinions. You know, everybody has like particular opinions on things, and I get it. But the way it's weird, I've seen him. When he talks, if you don't agree with what he's saying, he basically just says that you're lying. Like, he doesn't really, I don't know, he doesn't really formulate he's just kind of like asserts that he's right and you're wrong and fuck you. It's like a little bizarre. Bro, this game is so annoying sometimes. Like, it's just... Anyway, it's really bizarre. And I watched this like the conversation with like trans people, and he's like, it's just weird. So, but he was kind of rude to her, so I guess that's why she's like really doesn't like him very much. So it's kind of interesting. But okay.
It's a single liberal who thinks they're like in tune with their body. So it's just basic shit, bro. Like, I don't understand why you think you're special, but I can understand how in your own brain you're special. Sure.
You gotta be your own biggest fan.
Your actions are the fucking same basic shit we're all doing, assuming we're right and pushing it on others. So basic.
I don't assume anything. I am right.
Jesse says, did MrGirl piss you off? You seem heated during that talk. No. Oh, he pissed me off as an intellectual. I resent the idea that he's walking, like, I resent the idea that he thinks he's not walking trauma, and I resent the idea that he mischaracterized me in two specific ways that I really hated. But we'll talk about it. He's fine. We talked in DMs. It's all good. It's all kosher. He knows it's cool. We're good. Like, I'm not mad at him for realsies because we're going to talk it out online, so we're good. As long as he's willing to let me actually, like, handle beef with him, and he's willing to, like, at least hear me out, then I'm happy. It's like, it's a Max video, so just, like, fucking get ready. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can switch how the.
It sounds
viewer
like she
because
is definitely not happy with him.
Okay, get ready. Grab your fucking, just like grab whatever like thing you need for support, anxiety thing or whatever. Because like, no offense to Max, he's done a lot of shitty things to people, and I'm just like, oh god, it's fine. I deal with shitty people all the time, or people who do shitty things. I'm not
what is
like
this thing doing?
I'm not like crucifying Max as a person. I'm just saying it's a lot to hear. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot to fucking hear.
Okay. So what is this video about?
Grab your bong, take a hit. This is MrGirl. I haven't seen this video, but I want to watch it. I'm sorry. It's called How I Learned to Stop Hitting Women. Story time.
Wow, that's incredible. Oh, I never learned that though. But dude, I wonder what the type of the take is, because so people are like, oh, I really appreciate MrGirl's honesty, but like here's the thing is that from what I've seen, and maybe I'm uneducated, when he talks about this shitty past, he doesn't seem to talk about it in a way where he's super remorseful. Like it's more of like, yeah, this is the thing that happened. It's not like most people would be ashamed if they would hit people. They'd be like, yeah, I feel like a shitty person for that. It doesn't necessarily seem like the energy. I guess we'll watch the video. We'll see if we know. But okay.
How I Learned to Stop Hitting Women. Jessica says, I enjoy it. I'm refreshed by your thought process, the way you carry yourself, how reliably honest you are about how you feel, how self-aware you are, and your thoughts and blunt.
Bro, what is this?
I love it. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you so much. I try to be, obviously I'm a private person, but I also try to be honest with my thoughts. If on my channel, it's easier to be honest because, well, it's like my audience and I'm like, oh, I feel good and I'm in a little bubble and I feel safe. So it makes me feel really good. And then I hope I can do that with other content creators, as long as we both make the space for each other to be honest, which is a problem. I don't think MrGirl allowed me an opportunity to be honest with him because I didn't know I was going into a game. I thought I was going into an honest conversation. No problem. We'll fix that next time. It's not a big deal.
What game was that?
But like even my conversation.
I watched the conversation. Why did they think it was why did she say it's a game? Did he say that he felt like it was a game? Or am I missing? I watched their convo. It was bizarre. Fuck. I don't know what she's referring to.
Lauren yesterday. It was so great. Obviously, we were both like on edge because we don't know each other. I think it's normal when you meet someone for the first time or 100 times to not have earned the right into your most honest feelings,
And that's how I know that I'm cured. Because if I were capable of hitting Shaylin, I would have done it by now. Because I have wanted to hit Shaylin so incredibly badly and so incredibly hard.
Who's he
and
hit?
The fact that I haven't is proof that I'm a changed man.
Wow, incredible.
Now, if you have a...
What? Okay. I don't think you should be in relationships. Okay, Dr. John Maloney, who's a therapist, says this.
You could have stopped there,
he
probably.
says, yes, at one point in your 30-year marriage, you might want to kill each other, but not really, but you will have the emotions of wanting to.
Well, I don't, I mean, like, listen, I don't know. I've never, like, been like, oh, I want to hit this person. What I do know is that there's, like, sometimes, apparently, this is for, like, apparently when some mothers, like, have their babies, they come out of their gynies. I don't know why I'm so mature today. They have like the unironic feeling of wanting to kill their kid, but like they don't do it. It's like part, I guess, like post, what is it called? Postpartum depression, potentially, because it's so like infuriating and there's so many hormones and shit like that. So maybe that's what he's talking about, but obviously there doesn't seem to be. I don't know, but okay.
I think in young
What's
relationships,
up, baby? You have a bad day? I'm
really
sorry.
Toxic.
Well,
I think if you're fighting every night and you want to like hit your partner, you are toxic and probably something with trauma. But I can understand in a 30, 40-year relationship why you might get so mad at your partner at some point. But like to think about it, I don't like this. I don't like the way it's set up. I don't even like the idea that it's in your mind.
Well, it's just weird that he thinks about it so specifically. I don't think I've ever thought of like hitting somebody that I'm with. I've gotten really angry and like thinking about hitting things, And I've hit things before, like walls and stuff. Like I'm not gonna lie, I am a white kid named Kyle, So in my past, like I think that we've all gotten like angry, but I don't think I've never thought about like, oh, I really want to beat the shit out of this person I'm dating. That sounds like he has like a fucking problem. How do I open this gold fucking piss bucket? Whatever.
But I will accept that people can have the thought, but I will not accept that it's good or healthy. I will accept it's common. I will not accept that it's good or healthy.
How common is it? Is it really that common?
Jewel says, he's just crazy, Britt. I don't know why you invest anything in him. Oh, because I love trauma people. I love watching people who think they're not moving with trauma make videos like this. I love hearing a man talk about how he beat his ex-girlfriends and then goes after me for running a cult. Girl, this is what I'm saying.
Is that like a real thing? Did he like admit that he used to be his ex-girlfriends? That's fucking horrific. What the fuck?
intellectually spar with me,
Are you
get ready,
bounty
bitch.
hunter opener?
I'm looking for a competition. I'm looking.
My wife has said, I've definitely said to you, I want to hit you right now, but I don't because I love you. Yeah, but you're a girl. If you hit me, I could drop kick you into the moon. You know what I'm saying? I fuck you up, bitch. That's fine. I understand that. Oh fuck! I'm waiting for the day. Hit me once, I'll roundhouse your ass. I'll give you the fucking Hulk Hogan leg drop, motherfucker. I'm just kidding. I love you, baby.
For a grown man who can handle it. Let's go, bitch. But like, yeah, like if he doesn't want to come at me and he wants to like rephrase how he sees me, not for my sake, but for my audience's sake, because of the amount of comments like they're dealing with, that's fine. I'm not expecting him to do it. He doesn't have to. But I will not allow my audience or my space to be harassed by somebody who beats their girlfriends.
Similar problem or even an analogous problem.
What is happening? Is there like an audience issue? Is like her audience getting attacked by his? It's interesting because I did a review on like some MrGirl iceberg deep dive exposed video or whatever. I watched it, and MrGirl DM'd me and because I retweeted the guy saying like, "Oh, thank you for watching, Papa Gut," and MrGirl DM'd me. He was like, "Oh, like like be careful, how the fuck did I just die?" Okay, whatever. Is it the water? Oh, it's piss water. And he's like, "Oh, be careful because my fans can be toxic, and like I don't want that guy to get any like heat or something." I was like, "Okay, that's interesting. Is there an actual issue of like his fans going after people?" That's interesting.
I'm hoping this video can help me. I'm hoping it'll help both of us. Anyway, I've broken it down into a few steps. So step 1 is, why do you do it? So everybody,
I mean, I think the first issue is that we're talking about a very sensitive topic of like beating somebody, and like if that's what we're referencing, why are you like making jokes and laughing? It's not really funny at all.
It kind of assumes, I guess, in pop culture that men are violent towards women because they're angry, and anger could definitely be a part of it, but I think that that's a little reductive. So for me, one thing I noticed I was feeling a lot in those moments was panic. Fear of being abandoned or being ignored, or fear of being thrust into having to face a lot of things I was avoiding or feelings I didn't want to be feeling. And that fear put me in like a fight or flight thing where I felt like I had to lash out just to get out of the situation and make it stop. And one thing people don't talk about a lot is that a violent outburst like that can be a unifying event for a couple. So
so with his language, does he know he's actually speaking from trauma? Like, does Max recognize this is a trauma statement?
Flight thing where I felt like I had to lash out just to get out of the situation and make it stop. And one thing people don't talk about a lot is that a violent outburst like that can be a unifying event for a couple.
Okay.
So unless you're doing like any bodily harm to the other person or serious property damage, like one time I broke my ex's laptop, and that there definitely was not like the kind of whole.
That's what I'm saying. I've been in some toxic relationships, but I've never been with someone who broke my shit. I've never been with someone who hit me. I've never been.
I'm trying to understand how it's a unifying event to break something, and what does it mean to be like you? Okay, guy. Sorry, that was funny to me what I just did in the game. I've never heard of it being a unifying event, and like it's also bizarre to me to try to look for a silver lining in something like that. Okay. I don't know, but how is it a unifying, and like in what way? He's talking about a trauma bond. Okay, it just feels. Yeah, this is MrGirl, baby love. It just feels bizarre to say it like that.
Like that's not. I've gotten into toxic relationships, but like violence other than yelling is not okay. So like I will tolerate yelling to such a degree because growing up in a yelling house, I'm okay with it. Not like a yelling but just like Middle Eastern people were loud, so I'm fine with yelling. But like,
well, it's one of those things where I haven't seen the context of how he says it. But if it's one thing to say like, oh, people don't talk about trauma bonds and like it's really toxic and unhealthy and you shouldn't be hitting something or breaking or hitting someone and breaking things, but there can be like a trauma bond aspect there. But I imagine the trauma bond, like bonding over breaking something, I can't imagine. Or hitting somebody, I cannot imagine that it's a good experience. I mean, it sounds like almost like a coping experience, a coping mechanism for I guess the victim. That's like saying like, yeah, Stockholm syndrome. It's pretty poggers. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? But okay,
sir.
Holding each other and crying and making up thing after that, but a lot of times there is. And
by the way, if this
my wife says, I don't think he's speaking from trauma. I think he knows what to say to make people feel bad for him and make things seem normal. Interesting. Okay. Why do you feel that way?
his true feelings, I'm okay with him being honest. Because in order to understand why people hit people, I want to hear people's stories. So I'm not criticizing Max for being honest. I'm holding him accountable for how he criticizes other people. So from my perspective, I have no problem with Max being honest about his feelings from his perspective, but I'm going to hold him accountable for how he specifically goes after women like Lauren, me, and Not So Erudite. I will not tolerate it. The way he sucks Destiny's dick because he's a man, I think, and he refuses to respect his girlfriend and who she is as a person. He refuses to respect Lauren, me, or Not So Erudite. So
I don't know the specifics, but I'm here for the energy, Brittany. I'm just going to be absolutely honest with you. I can't wait for the anti-Semitism part, though, because that's my favorite part of the video. But no, but I'm here for the energy.
I'm going to be a very tough little girl right now, and I'm going to say no tolerating Mr. Girl's hypocrisy. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
You get to sort of join forces against the you that just snapped. And you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Wow, I really went insane there.
Sorry, to specify, Jacob says, as somebody who has yelled, I don't know if yelling is okay. No. In a healthy relationship, we should not be yelling at the top of our lungs at our partners. That is a not healthy way to do it, right? But
true.
I will understand if someone raises their voice or they're in a trauma moment or they're triggered and so they yell. I will understand all of those things. I'll be very compassionate.
Well, why does somebody have to be in a trauma moment or triggered? You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I have to be in like a trauma moment? Like, you know, sometimes like people yell at each other. I mean, yelling is like a spectrum, right? So sometimes yelling is like raising your voice. Sometimes yelling is like screaming. What's happening here? But I guess I get what she's saying.
Totally get it. But I don't think in a healthy...
He favors Destiny because he launched his career? Probably, yeah. And I think that it's actually a very opportune moment for MrGirl, too, because... Oh, what the fuck, bro? Because Destiny is like, he got banned off Twitch and he's feeling isolated and he probably doesn't have like a whole lot of friends, and so like this is like probably very mutually beneficial for Destiny to like feel like somebody's actually his friend. But
I think that's the point. I'm trying to say in a healthy situation, okay? So like you can be good people and bad people in moments. I think you can be healthy and have unhealthy moments in your relationship.
Oh, I need the Ewok.
But with MrGirl, it's as if every part of his relationships are unhealthy, and that's what's interesting, right?
Oh, we're on a team against that evil part of me. I'm so glad that he's gone. And it can just be this kind of cycle of denial, and then you get to apologize. And apologizing is fun, and it's very simple. It takes a complex problem.
And listen, I've met couples who even in their past together did beat each other, did do drugs, did cheat on each other, and now they're in healthy relationships. So again, one size does not fit all. I'm only criticizing Max's perspective on how he views how other people are acting, not on the idea that people can be toxic and be okay, Or that people
so far my issue is that like the honesty is like whatever. It's not that he's being honest. The way that he talks about things is in like a positive light. It's like silver lining. There's a difference between bringing up like the there's a difference between being like, hey, listen, like this is like there's like a trauma bond aspect, yada yada yada. That's fine, but he's almost like happy about it. He's like, yeah, like this is almost a good thing. That's the energy that he's getting here. He's like, yeah, I know I beat her, but like there was positives to it, and that's okay. It's like, oh, okay. That's the weird part about it.
And be in toxic relationships consensually. So once again,
Epic
I'm not criticizing Max's story, his truth, his version of reality. I'm questioning.
My wife says, I don't have the capacity for a discussion about this right now. One of the guys is flipping out, but perhaps we'll talk about it on Mama Papa Got later. Okay, sounds good, baby.
How he views people directly like me or other people and how he judges, okay?
Like some dynamic where you're not hearing each other or understanding each other, or some big unspoken thing you're not talking about. It makes it very, very simple. I hit you, it hurt you, I feel bad, oops. And it just makes it all very, ironically, kind of easy to deal with and then push under the rug. But one of the problems with that is, and I think this is an issue for a lot of people to kind of grasp this or be able to stomach grasping this, when in that moment,
Sorry, one last thing. So with MrGirl's work, and something Max said to me directly during our live show, is Max is upset when people don't take him seriously. So Max has made it clear everything he's saying in his videos is honest. So if it's honest, right, then I'm going to take him literally. If Max doesn't want to be taken literally, he needs to be very careful in how he communicates himself. Because he was upset that I made a video titled, Is MrGirl a Real Person? Because I was trying to figure out if he was being sarcastic or performative. But if he's saying, no, he really means these things, then I'm going to judge him literally, and not just as an artist who's doing like some meta conversation. There's no meta conversation if Max gets mad at me for criticizing the literal thing he's saying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Max told me during our live show, he doesn't like that I don't believe him when he talks. So I'm gonna believe every word MrGirl says is literal and factual and true from his perspective.
When you're apologizing and you're having your makeup sex and she's crying in your arms or you're crying in her arms about what a, abusive piece of shit you are and how you don't deserve her, you are sweeping your own feelings under the rug. You're throwing yourself under the bus. Because you had a reason. You had a reason to snap. And it's not a justifiable reason to snap, but it's a real reason that you snapped. And those things get tied together. And so it becomes, I was wrong for doing that, becomes we no longer have to think or talk about why I did that or understand.
So keep in mind.
Interesting. I'm trying to like translate that into a human speaking. I think what he's trying to say is that when somebody with an anger problem, which you clearly have an anger problem if you're hitting people, snaps, it doesn't mean that their anger is unjustifiable. It means that their response is disproportionate. And then once you have this fight, after like you'll have a valid argument against like what's going on, and then you fight and you hit somebody, and then you no longer have to talk about what made you upset anymore because now the entire thing has been eclipsed by that. I think that's what he's trying to say. Rather toxic, but okay.
Max has now accused or made statements, not an accusation, that both his mother and father have wanted to see him either naked or in a sexual context. His father, when he was 8, was mad that he couldn't see his penis. And then when he was a teenager, his mother kicked him out because she wanted to allegedly have sex with him. So once again, I think we're dealing with someone who has trauma, which is fine. We all have trauma, go to therapy. But like, he's kind of making statements, at least to me, that he thinks it's not trauma. And he made a video with Not So Erudite, I think it was that one, I've watched a few of Max's now, where he's basically saying things like, people just think it's my trauma, but I think I'm telling the truth. And I was like, I think you're telling the truth that's in your fucking head, which is a opinion, subjective.
And why I did that. So you're really doing yourself a disservice, and it's easy to do, and it's easy for your partner to do because you lashed out, you did something horrible, and at that moment they don't want to talk about your feelings very much, but that's probably the best thing that you could do.
Also, keep in mind that I don't know Max's background, but he is not working class as far as I know. He comes from, his dad's a psychiatrist, I think, and his grandfather was one, or psychologist, psychiatrist. I
just want to know.
The best thing that you could do.
Also, keep in mind, just think it's my trauma, but I think I'm telling the truth.
I just want to know why she said that.
The truth that's in your fucking head, which is an opinion, subjective.
And why I did that. So you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, why did she even make that point?
It's easy for your partner to do because you lashed out, you did something horrible, and at that moment they don't want to talk about your feelings very much, but that's probably the best thing that you could do.
Okay. Also, keep in mind that I don't know Max's background, but he is not working class as far as I know. He comes from, his dad's a psychiatrist, I think, and his grandfather was one, or psychologist, psychiatrist. I don't remember. And then he went to college for psychology as well. So, and they're a Jewish, like, I don't know if there's like affluency here, but like they have like this cultural background. It makes sense. I don't know how he grew up. I don't know who pays his bills. I don't know how he makes money. He has one client still as a fitness instructor, I heard recently. I don't know if that's still true. Max, correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't know how much responsibility Max has had to have throughout his life. In college, he got kicked out of college and suspended temporarily, not permanently, temporarily, because he made a comment about like Columbine and being a shooter and how we should be empathetic to shooters.
What's her point?
And then he had the pedophile thing, and YouTube took down his video and then put it back up. So Max is always toting a line, but he's also not being honest. When Max tells me, I want you to honestly judge me and believe what I say, and then I am, and then he goes, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm having issues.
I don't understand. Like, okay, first of all, I don't understand why she made up the original point. Even talking about his like work history, I don't know quite the relevancy. Maybe to try to establish that he doesn't have real life experience. I don't really know, but I don't understand the Jewish thing. Like, what does that really have to do with it? Is that like a little bit of a anti-Semitic thing because where she's from? I'm supposed to tag him because where she's from, she doesn't like Jewish people. Is that like a subconscious thing? I don't really know.
Of reality, like I don't know how much of reality Max is actually living in, and how much of his own perception of reality he's living in.
You know, the Twitter thinking about this is like, it's like that men need to be lectured. Like, abusive men need to understand that women are people and need to respect them. And it's like, abusive people they're abusive. They're not stupid. It's not something that you can fix.
And this was another thing. Well, no. Okay, go ahead.
By explaining something to them. You have to take the uncomfortable step of empathizing with what's going on.
Doesn't working class mean you live paycheck to paycheck? Isn't that like working class is like somebody who doesn't know white collar working class?
I'm trying to understand his point. I mean, I think the reason people say that like, oh, you have to understand women are people is probably because you wouldn't abuse a man or you wouldn't try to hit a man because you know that you get your shit fucked up. So like you're hitting women because you think they're less than men. That's most likely because you're afraid of other men. Most of the men who hit girls, from what I've seen, are just weak. And they hit women because they want to beat up on somebody that they know they can win against. But they're total fucking cowards when it comes to, like, you know, anything else. So I guess that's the point that they're trying to make. Okay.
Blue collar. Like, I don't know if this man paid for his own college, but if this man had his parents...
Oh, is she putting him into that... Is she putting him into that like number system that she has, and like that's part of the number system is working? I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I don't know if I'd consider that working class.
There. And I'll never forget my ex looking at me and calmly saying to me, "Why are you punching me in the face?"
Sorry, we're gonna.
What's
have to
going on there? And I'll never forget my ex looking at me and calmly saying to me, "Why are you punching me in the face?"
Okay.
It was a good question. I'll add, for the sake of honesty and not for the sake of defending myself, that I punched her very lightly in the face, but I did punch her in the face once, and that was her response. Step 2, understand the dynamic. So in my case,
I've never been punched in the face by a man.
Like, what does it mean that you punched her lightly? It just feels like he's like heavy. It's what a bizarre downplay. That's so weird. Okay. I mean, I would expect somebody who abuses people or women, I guess, to be like, I didn't hit you that hard. Like, right? That's okay.
Slapped in the face by a man. I've never been punched in the face by a man. That's crazy, bro. Crazy.
hitting women,
It happens. So let's see if we can be open to the idea that someone could hit their girlfriend and not hit their girlfriend again. If they can rape yesterday and not tomorrow.
over the next several years from that point on, I think it didn't stop till I was like 30, was a substitute for being listened to. So I didn't feel like I was being...
No. Magoo says... No, not Magoo. Sorry. L. Jim says, be honest, did you slap him first? No. I did not slap him first. And also... Like, if you slap someone, they can slap you back. Like, self-defense is okay. So if a woman hits a man, he should be able to defend himself to the same level of what she gave him. So if, like, she punched him and it barely hurt him, he can't then punch her and break her jaw. Like, equal out the defense. But yeah, if you hit a man, he should be able to defend himself.
empathized with, and everybody plays a part in their relationship dynamics, so I'm not blaming them for that, and I don't know how much they blame me for the things I did, or I don't blame them for the times they hit
What's the difference between BDSM and a woman desiring to be hit? Consent. Agreement. Saying I want it. Wanting it.
me. Just shit happens. That's how
What's the difference from sex and rape? Consent.
I see it. I mean, there's extreme circumstances, obviously, but it was a way for me to get them to act like they cared. Now, the problem with doing that, so basically it was like, if you don't care about my feelings, I bet you care about your fucking arm, don't you? Right? And
Okay.
invariably they do care about their arm. The problem is that at that point they're just placating you. They don't really care. If they didn't care in the first place about what you wanted to talk about or wanted them to pay attention to, they definitely don't care after you hit them. So you're kind of short-circuiting, like circumventing.
So is he trying to say that the reason he stopped hitting people is because they weren't actually listening to him when he would hit them? So he would hit them because he felt like they didn't... he would hit his partners because they didn't understand him. But then he stopped hitting them because he realized that hitting them wasn't a viable reason. It wouldn't give you like an actual accurate response. So is he telling us that the only reason he stopped hitting people is because it wasn't giving him what he wanted? So like that's what I'm getting out of this. What the fuck? Okay.
Any real possibility for them to empathize with you, which is a really bad idea. It's super effective in the short term, and it seems like it works.
This is fair. Psychologically, this is
and
fair.
often it's rewarded with like short-term results.
True.
The problem is that your effective...
It's very interesting the way that people talk about ideas on the internet. Like, oh, true. Hold on a second. I just don't want to get DMCA'd on like this song from Star Wars because it's happened before, even though it's in a fucking video game. It's just so interesting because I don't understand how you could sit back and take like a more objective look at something like this, because it would make me irritated. You know? Like, that's the problem. And I get it's like, oh, well, you know, as like a psychologist or something, you're supposed to be more objective. I get that. But like, Jesus Christ, like, how do we like my thing is that when it comes, like, first of all, I don't think that there's like enough remorse in his voice. I don't think he really cares that he used to do those things. That's the energy I'm getting here. I think that it's just more of a thing that happened, and it's like an interesting part of his life journey. Like, in his mind, him hitting a girl is just part of his development as a person, rather than something that's like heinous that he did as in the past. You know what I mean? Which is like a fucked up way to look at things. But then even the way we're talking about it, just, I don't know, dude. It just makes me very uncomfortable. Like, why? A lot of people, the people who like MrGirl, like, okay, you do you. And they're like, oh, he's honest. And I get that. It's like, but he seems like an abusive piece of shit that only stopped abusing people because he wasn't getting what he wanted. There doesn't even seem to be like any like that genuinity there. So like it's not like he made it doesn't seem like he made a mistake and he's like, I gotta change. It's more like, I wasn't getting what I wanted, so I decided to change.
Destroying any chance of you being taken care of at the exact moment that you need it the most.
Like if you're gonna sit here and like go talk about how you were like a shitty person in the past and how you used to do bad things, I'm at like there should be more like remorse in your voice, you know. And I'm not saying that you should be faking remorse. What I'm saying is like you should feel like shitty about it. It doesn't seem like he feels that bad about his past. That's like the problem.
What's really going on with you is not easy. It's really tempting to focus on the lead up to the outburst.
Oh, you're a psych major? Maybe so you're telling me that people that like MrGirl are fucking like, I mean, psych majors are fucking psychopaths. So maybe that's part of it. Okay.
5 minutes before or whatever you were like superficially talking about at the time, whatever you're screaming about as you're punching holes in the wall or slapping your girl.
I'm sorry. You know how Max told me he doesn't believe like people can stop being angry, that there's always a low hum of anger in you, which is like, yes, some people are not that way though, obviously.
It sounds like he has
but I understand
an
what he's
anger
saying. Is Max saying, like, you know how Max is saying, like, I haven't hit Shaylin, so I'm cured? So he does believe in recovery. But in our discussion together, he was saying he doesn't believe people get better. But he thinks people should go to therapy. I'm so confused. Does Max have any real values? Like, does he have any real values?
I mean, okay. I mean, I don't know the context, but he says people don't get better. Okay, yeah, that pretty much says to. So he's still like, listen, people with anger problems, obviously, like I'm somebody that like I've had my anger issues before. And you have to learn like coping mechanisms for when you get angry to like block yourself and like just chill for a little bit, right? So that's what you need to do. Because it's okay to get angry, but it's not okay to have a disproportionate response. Which is what it kind of sounds like is happening there. But like, yeah, you get better once you manage it. You know, the area that you get better when you have anger problems is when you realize that like it's not. I know it sounds weird, but it's not okay. Like it's that feeling that like it's the understanding that your feelings are. It's like valid to feel angry, but it's not valid to like explode. And then you learn that, and you're like, wow, you know what? I'm not such like okay, yeah, I was a shitty person. I didn't like the way that I reacted, but it doesn't really sound like he's having that realization, so much. It doesn't really seem like that's a thought in his head. It's like, yeah, you know what? I shouldn't have had these disproportionate responses. It's more of like, and again, like it feels like it just felt for him. It just wasn't getting him what he wanted, or maybe people in society didn't like it. Like there doesn't seem to be genuine remorse. That's like my biggest fucking problem.
Because he's not consistent. You know what Lauren said to me yesterday? At least Brittany's consistent. Fuck yes, I am, you fucking bitches. Because girl got values, bitch. Girl got values and they consistent.
Girlfriend or shoving her is probably not really what you're upset about. Because if you knew what you were really upset about, you probably would have done something about it before you snapped. So it's going to be in some area that you're not looking in. It's going to be some subtle interaction you're reacting to without realizing it. And it can be really, really, really tough to figure out. At least it was for me. So that is why you need to, step 3, get help.
Okay.
So
what kind of keep in mind, Max has stated, and he can restate this if he wants, that he doesn't believe in CBT, and I don't know if he believes in DBT, but obviously I believe in these therapies because they help me. I didn't take CBT, but I took DBT, and obviously it helped me a lot. Max doesn't believe in that form of therapy. I think he only believes in psychiatry, which is what his family did. So again, a bubble, right? So like he also, again, during our conversation said I didn't go to therapy, but like I told him a story about how I went to therapy. So I'm not sure if he's listening. Like I'm not sure if Max only hears his own monologue or if he actually understands people, but I don't think so. I'm going to say he doesn't actually understand people. He just sounds like someone who could. Like a grifty nihilist who's like, I understand the government sucks and I understand that we need to dismantle the system. But like they don't really understand what the fuck is going on.
I think that I agree with that.
How is CBT or DBT not psychiatry? Because it's considered talk therapy. So he doesn't.
He doesn't seem particularly empathetic of other people, and I don't think I get the idea that when he's talking to people, he doesn't like actually listen. He listens to respond and not to actually absorb like people. That's like information or the way people think. You know. So like yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think that's reasonable.
And talk therapy, but like talk therapy saves so many lives a year. I don't want to. I like how a man who accused me of not caring about suicidal people doesn't understand that DBT literally helped me stop being suicidal. So like, okay, I got it.
I don't know what DBT
people tell me to get help all the time. All right, if you look at the comments, well, you can't because my channel is deleted. But if you look at the comments on this video, if there are any comments or tweets or whatever.
Kuro says, do you really think he doesn't have any values? Or are you just saying that? Yeah, I'm saying that as a statement. Brittany Simon, do not believe that Max Carson has any value system. I think he believes he does. I don't think he does because he's never consistent. And all of
why do you believe he? Why do you think that he does? Why do you think that he thinks that he does? It doesn't really sound that much to me. I don't know. It could be wrong. I guess I'd have to suss the guy out a little more. But it just kind of feels like he knows what he should and shouldn't do and what he should and shouldn't say. should and shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like it's more of like, oh, I know people don't like it when I do this, so I'm not going to do that. It's just for the sake of not getting in trouble more than anything else, while pushing the boundaries to see how much you can get away with. That seems to be more like Max. I don't think he's particularly like genuine. Well,
the interviews with other people, all the things I've seen, there is no consistency except Max wants something, and if Max doesn't get anything, Max throws a tantrum. Here? And I am bored by it. So Max, if you are as smart and introspective as you are, fucking let's go, bro. In a fun gay way. Like let's gay go. You know, like don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.
You can imagine people would tell me to get help all the time. As if it's just like you just flip a switch and then you're helped. Really doesn't work that way. So when I first came out as an abusive piece of shit woman batterer to my family, I told my father, listen, he's a psychologist. Understands family dynamics.
Okay.
So I said, hey, every time we come visit you, we end up getting into some physical altercation at your house after you go to sleep. And we go back to our room.
Oh, okay. So DBT is dialectic behavioral therapy. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay. So are they trying to say like talk therapy is DBT? Okay. Interesting. I'll have to look more into that stuff.
Fist fighting for like an hour every time we come visit you. And I think partly that's
like, listen, I don't know if Max does or doesn't have a trauma, but it's very bizarre that like your way, like, is that your way of trying to talk about what the shit is like? Yeah, you know, you make me so angry. I hit my girlfriend. Like what? Like I get it. Like parents have impacts on their kids, and like maybe you know something happening through his developmental cycle was his parents' fault. But like that's not getting help. That's shifting the blame onto somebody else for your shitty fucking behavior.
It's happening because you're so demeaning to me. And you mock me, and you treat me like physical alter.
He does this thing where he uses the you thing a lot, so I never know who he's talking to. He did that to Not So Erudite. He'd say you, and she's like, we're not talking about me, right? So I need to rewind that and listen to it.
At your house after you go an abusive piece of shit woman batterer to all the time, as if it's just like you just flip a switch and then you're helped. Really doesn't work that way. So when I first came out as an abusive piece of shit woman.
Sorry, Asper says sorry. Do you think that Max is really stuck in the I'm a bad person hole? Like he reminds me of the people who really truly believe that everyone is as evil as him. Maybe. Like I have this like fear that maybe I'm the monster in the anime, but I actually think I have that fear because I know I'm not. I think if you're the monster in the anime, I don't think you ever question if you are one. But I think that's the irony of humans is like we don't seek power. Like good people don't become president. Or good people don't seek power because power, you know what I mean? Like absolute power corrupts. And like, it's one of those things where the irony is like, we want good representation.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, I think that good people still seek out power. I just think that good people turn bad once they get power. A lot of the times it's hard to maintain yourself when you have like, when you have like a lot of available options, it's hard to maintain like you and your values. A lot of times your values come from like the, your experiences, like your stressful experiences and interactions. Oh, that's going to blow up. Okay. Your stressful experiences and interactions, and then once you get removed from that environment, it becomes a very different story, you know, and it becomes like, it's just different. Like it's as simple as I think like I remember I used to work for like the bus company, whatever, and I loved those guys, you know, they were like a family to me, and like they were really cool. I liked hanging out with them and stuff, you know. You bonded through having shitty work experiences, and I was like, guys, I'm gonna visit you guys every once in a while. I have like barely visited them. So like even then it's like, yeah, man, we're fucking bonded through this shitty job. And I'm gonna visit you guys. I like you guys, but then like I haven't fucking bothered to stop by, and I should stop by. But it's like that. Like that's pretty much how it works. It's like once you're out of that field, you tend to like change a little bit. So you know.
In government, but none of the good people.
I'm not bad at Legos. I'm fucking good at this game. Shut the fuck up.
And you lie and you batter and you kill, and it's just awful. And then the irony is like, to say you're the monster is in like Max is saying he's not though. Max is like saying he's better. He's saying he's it's like a technique in like manipulation. I'm sorry, it is. You cannot go on the internet and say the things he does as if he's like, see, I am the bad person, but then justifies all of his actions and then recreates them with Shaylin. Like he might not hit Shaylin, but he's still verbally abusing her. And she can consent to that. I have no problem with grown women consenting to toxic relationships. That's your business, bitch. That ain't my life.
Well, there's a difference between consenting to a toxic relationship versus consenting to be abused. You know what I mean? Like, that's like two different things. You know what I mean? I don't think that toxic relationships are necessarily abusive. I think that word's like a little intense. Like, hey, toxic relationship, you know what I mean? Where you guys maybe you fight a lot or you yell, but yelling and fighting doesn't have to get to like a fucking abusive level. It's just toxic because you shouldn't be fighting and like that you shouldn't be that unhappy as often as you are. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't call that an abusive situation.
But I don't like the idea that Max, who is in a currently toxic relationship with a girlfriend who's consistently at odds with him, has the audacity to criticize Dr. K for asking Melina, do you want to be in an open relationship? Because he thinks Max is not consistent. Max.
Wait, what did Dr. K say? Explain this to me, Brittany. I got to talk to Brittany again just so I know what the fuck she's talking about.
Full criticism that he himself should be getting. So, Max, I will give it to you now. I will give it to you now, bitch. You're a hypocrite and it's boring. Don't be so basic unless it's going to be in a simple, minimalistic, good way. Because like this way of being basic is so boring and is self-destructive and you're self-fulfilling. Like, why are you self-destructive? You're the most self-destructive man who's good at like YouTube videos that I've ever seen. So talented with the way he does film. So talented in the way he tells a story. But his stories don't have a fucking, what? There's no conclusion of like what to do next. There's just a, hey, I hit my girlfriend. So that was hard. And I'm like, okay, so we're not going to hit women anymore? Or apparently not, because even though he said he was cured from hitting women, he doesn't even believe in cures. But then he tells everyone to go to therapy. Make a fucking decision, Max.
Batterer to my family.
Sounds like Brittany's the one trauma dumping here.
My father, listen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Max says, everyone go to therapy unless I don't believe in the type of therapy you do.
He's a psychologist. Fuck. Understands family dynamics. So I said, hey, every time we come visit you,
every time
we end up getting into some physical altercation at your house after you go to sleep. Okay. We go back to our room. We're basically fist fighting for like an hour every time we come visit you. And I think partly that's happening because you're so demeaning to me and you mock me and you treat me like a fucking loser.
So him and his girlfriend get into fights because his dad was mean to him?
Loser in front of her. And she doesn't want to see me that way.
Well, yeah, it sounds like there's like an emasculation issue going on here.
So his dad verbally abuses him in front of his girlfriends?
And I don't want her.
I mean, that's possible. Or he says like snide, passive-aggressive, emasculating comments. I don't think it's necessarily abuse. Why'd they just zoom into her boobs? What the fuck?
Her to see me that way.
I mean, he might be abusive, or he might have been abusive when he was younger or something like his dad, but I'm just saying here, it just feels like it's my dad's fault that we're fighting all the time, but like maybe it's your fault for the way that you interact, or don't hang out with your dad. I don't know what to tell you, you know?
And I don't...
Is this just childhood trauma?
I don't stand up to you, and it's humiliating, and it makes me hate her, because she's watching it, and she's making me aware of it, and I don't want to face it.
I'm sorry.
When was this video made?
2021, April. This is what I'm saying. How does Max have the audacity to tell me I haven't recovered, but he's still making videos like this? Bish, sir, what?
So I need you to stop doing that. And he said, oh my gosh, oh wow, I had no idea. Oh my gosh, oh, geez.
Okay.
No change. Endless insults, endless ridicule about my job, my body, my life.
That really sucks, bro. That's super sucks.
What does he say? What is endless ridicule? I'm just curious about what that means. Because like my mother criticizes my fucking job. Well, not anymore, but like, you know, she would criticize sometimes like, what place you are in your life. And like I feel like having like being opinionated on what you do for a living isn't the same. It isn't necessarily abusive. Like what does he say that makes it so abusive? Like maybe he knows that you said some pedophile shit and he's like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, is that what it is? Yeah, it sounds like all parents. For all we know, it could be worse, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It just sounds like Max has had a typical fucking, he grew up in a very typical sense almost. And like that bothers him because he's an entitled kid. I don't really know. I could be totally wrong. Maybe he has like a lot of trauma. I haven't watched enough of him, but you know, I don't know.
Relationship, my everything, my outlook.
It's interesting that his reaction that he said it was his dad was like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that in like a genuine way. It seemed like he was expressing, and then I don't know. It's just like I'm getting like a lot of conflicting things going on here. Okay.
On life, the way I talk, the way I think, and then anything I said about it was like, why do we always have to talk about your feelings, Max? Why are you controlling everything? Why can't you? It's a complete fucking nightmare. So eventually I realized like this relationship is going to fall apart. I basically have to choose. So I left my family. Now the relationship fell apart later anyways, but I had to leave.
Good. Good.
I had to.
Good.
Because I could see what kind of person it was turning me into. So then we went to couples therapy. Or maybe this was concurrently. Went to couples therapy. And
how long was he with this person when he went to couples therapy? Because like were they Were they together for very long? I feel like couples therapy is a waste if you haven't been together for very long, because it's just like, yeah, we just don't get along. There's nothing to really talk about. Couples therapy is for people who've been together for a long time and like they went through a large life change, like having a baby or something, and now they've fallen out of love, but they want to salvage the relationship. So why are you going to the couples therapy? I wonder how long they were together.
After like 3 weeks, the therapist said, "So, have you guys been physically violent with each other in the past 6 months?" And we both said yes. We've both been violent.
Okay.
And they said, "Okay, well, we're not going to be able to treat you then."
Oh, that's weird.
Okay.
Which, of course, I was furious, and I was like, "This is like a liability thing."
Yeah, what is
Like
that?
you're afraid that one of us is going to kill the other, and then the family of the survivor is going to sue you. And they're like, "Oh no! It's just that therapy is not as effective. It can actually make things worse." It's like,
Interesting.
Okay.
okay. Then the day that she left me,
Well, I mean,
in
that might
probably
be
the worst
true.
psychological crisis of my life, I called a bunch of therapists.
And by the way, this happens. Like my first therapist was so dramatic about me. See, Max though, if Max was in charge of me when I was sick, I would have killed myself. Because Max, when he talks about people who are suicidal, Max said to not to
Well, I mean-
paradise during his
Okay, sorry. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Having like if you're physically fighting with somebody, the type of therapy that they offer may not be the best type. I don't really know the specifics, but I wouldn't doubt it if it was if it made fighting worse or it made things worse and then like went home. Because I imagine you go to therapy, like couples counseling, and then you go home and you talk about things that you talked about. And if you're already fighting, deep diving into the specifics of your life would probably just cause more arguments, more fighting, and then like more abuse, and they just don't want to be part of that. So
conversation about Recful, that suicidal borderline people do not deserve agency. Fuck off, Max!
okay.
It's so condescending. If people had called the cops on me instead of letting me figure out my own shit, I would have definitely killed myself. That's what I'm trying to say. We're going to kill ourselves probably regardless. But you know what? At the end of the day,
I will through bad food.
people trying to help makes it worse. Don't try to help people. Let people help themselves. Let them decide how they need help. And people can intervene. You can do, what's that called? When you have an intervention, you can do an intervention. You can do a lot of things without fucking 5115 people. You can do a lot of things without imprisoning people. You can help in so many ways without controlling people. You don't have to go to that conclusion of people don't get. He literally said Recful had no say in his life. Well, then you
Oh, Recful, the World of Warcraft streamer who killed himself? What the fuck? Why is he speculating on that?
have no say in your life, Max. You're fucking insane, bro. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
this guy looks
Stop trying
weird.
to take away people's agency when you obviously have trauma from people trying to take away your agency.
And one of them on the phone was like, "Was there any domestic abuse in the relationship?" And I said, "Well, I don't know if it was abuse, but we definitely shoved each other at times."
Whoever
And she was
sped
like,
up, I think so.
"I'm not going to be able to help you."
Yeah, 25%.
Crazy.
So yeah, there's a Los Angeles therapist out there that specializes in anything except domestic violence.
But that's not true. I worked with therapists who worked with
Okay.
people who did domestic violence. What state are you in? I don't even understand the statement. I don't understand the statement at all. Like my therapist helped me with everything. Like all my friends who just like, isn't therapy like a big part of domestic violence? I don't know. I've never had like actual domestic violence, so I don't know. But I'm just curious on like this idea. This is so strange. Like shoving. He didn't even specifically. He said shoving, right? Did he even mention punching his girlfriend, or did he say shoving? Because if he said like shoving or yelling, like I don't know what that's weird. Unless the therapist doesn't want to feel like liable. That makes sense.
Okay.
My point is, it's not easy
wish
to
this
get
had
help.
dark
And not
side
only just
controls.
because people don't want to help you.
Well, I mean that's true too.
As I said, it's a complicated problem because if you're at the point where you're being violent with the person who you supposedly love the most, it probably means that your whole life is fucked up. Shit that you think is unrelated, like your job, your family,
Probably.
your relationship with yourself, just the way you're thinking and interacting with like almost everything. It's all so fucked up that it's
True.
come to a head and now you're snapping. And you got
True. Max is so right on this point. Sometimes it's too late to help people, or sometimes it feels too late. But I'm sure there's a too late point, but I don't think it's just because like people are being violent towards each other. Like I said, I've worked with couples, I've known couples who were so violent in the beginning stages of their relationships and really managed to make something out of their lives that were beautiful. So I will say like, Max is right that it can be very difficult, but he's also like assuming that the only experiences he's had in his bubbles are everyone's experience. And I'm saying it's not.
to fix all that shit, and it's pretty daunting. However, if I did it, so can you.
Wait, Drew Malma said I heard it wrong. He doesn't mean his dad is insulting him. He perceives his dad is demeaning him. Well, is that accurate, or is Max making the accusation that his dad...
Well, that makes sense. That's my thing. It's like, is he actually have a trauma, or is this kid just grow fucking entitled? And like, he feels like he should get the way he wants everything. And like, he champions his feelings. Like he cares. Like, I know that sounds weird, but like, I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know shit. I could be wrong. He could have a trauma. I'm just saying, but I don't, dude. Like, does he, or does he have like this fucking dog shit interpretation of the world? Dude, what is happening here?
Belittled him, or is Max making the argument that he perceived his father's actions as belittlement? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Step 4. Fuck your guilt. I know you feel
Guilt, according to my therapist, is a betrayal of your own values. Shame is a betrayal of your community's values. I like those terms. I don't know how Max uses the word guilt.
guilty. I know you want me to feel guilty. I don't think guilt is that useful, obviously.
I mean, I disagree.
Largely, I think it's an illusion of control. I just don't think you have as much control over yourself as most people seem to.
Why?
I don't think you have control over yourself, Max. Do not project your insecurities onto us. Some of us are thriving and living, my friend.
Think they do.
Can I fight the guy
and,
like this?
Least of
Fuck you,
all, when
bitch.
Society functions so well, like in general.
not.
Like, go to a church every Sunday. No one's freaking out on anyone. Go into the average American home. Everyone's doing kind of fine. Everyone's figuring it out, except you.
you're snapping. And I think that it takes two to tango. It's not like most people are punching their partner in the face on the first date. It's usually part of a complex dynamic that both people are feeding into. Psychologically, it's too complicated to.
Come on, dude. Like I understand. Oh, come on. That I mean that just sounded like the other person he's with is like part of the problem. Like I'm hitting somebody, but like they're part of the dynamic. Like I do understand that being in a toxic relationship can bring out the worst in people, but like Jesus Christ, it just sounds like at every dude, what the fuck is happening with this stupid spider bitch? At every opportunity, he seems to kind of deflect the criticism of himself onto other people. Like he blames other people for like almost everything. He doesn't take any personal responsibility for anything. And then he says, "We don't really have any control." It's like, no, I mean, a lot of people have control over themselves. It seems like you say that you don't have control over yourself as a way to like not have to identify with your fucking problems in the correct way.
To blame on just one person or assign the fault to just one person. Morally, I guess
Trap Leader says, I think you're mischaracterizing what he's saying. Good, then Max can come talk to me and prove me wrong.
that's up to you. I think that's complicated too. And then legally, it's your fault, obviously. So you're risking your freedom by being violent, and you have to change. You have to stop because it's really not good for anybody. I'm going to tell you something that my 80-year-old training client told me at the time.
Hold on a second.
When I was 80. So you're risking your freedom by being violent, and you have to change. You have to stop because it's not.
It's just like that too, man. It's just like, okay, you're risking your own freedom. It sounds like the only reason that he stopped being violent was because it's like a personal choice. Like it was good for him, so he decided to stop. Like none of this sounds like he gives a fuck about any of the people he used to hit.
It's really not good for anybody. I'm going to tell you something that my 80-year-old training client told me at the time when I was getting divorced.
Okay.
Without me mentioning any of this.
I guess he was
She
married.
said,
Okay, that makes
Max,
sense.
TMM's here. Hi, TMM. Mwah. How are you? Sending cops on wellness checks has led to a lot of unnecessary deaths, ironically. I'm just saying.
if you ever got really mad at her, and you ever...
Ooh, I like this. Can Liquid says, offer the option of help without making someone feel cornered. My first therapist tried to do that to me. She tried to corner me, and I was like, you're fired, bitch. And then I went to my second therapist, and she saved my life.
you ever shook...
See how I had agency? That's what I'm saying. Even in borderline, I looked at my first therapist. I was like, bitch, you're trying to get me addicted to drugs. And then I went to my second therapist, and she diagnosed me and helped me in under 20 sessions. In under 20 fucking sessions of therapy, I transformed my life because my therapist was so fucking top-notch. And because I was open and ready to change. And that's what I'm saying. Unless you are open and willing to change and you have a good therapist, it's not going to work that way. Therapy only works if it works for you. For me, my therapy helped me so much. Literally changed how I saw my life. I only had therapy like once a month or twice a month max. And so, you know, it was like I had time to reflect. I had a wellness check nurse who would call me once a week to make sure I didn't kill myself. They never made me feel like I was a burden. My first therapist, she tried to get me drugged. She tried to get me committed. She was just like, I think you're really unwell. And I was like, yeah, bitch, I'm unwell. I'm paying you $150 to tell you I'm unwell. I know I'm unwell. Why would I be paying $150 an hour unless I was unwell to a therapist? I swear to God, therapists are people, but Max doesn't. Sometimes I feel like he's trying to be so human. He forgets humans get better. You know what part of being human, Max, is not only the darkness within us.
It would make sense if he's just trying to imitate what he thinks a person should be. How the fuck did you get up here, dude? What the fuck? Get out of here. Fuck you. Get out of here. Alright, he's gone. They could never get back up here. Anyway, yeah, it sounds more like he's trying to imitate what he thinks, like what a person is and how they would interact.
As you fucking Voldemort, but it's also the joy inside of us. Find your Harry Potter. Find the Harry to your Voldemort. You can't just be a cringy emo boy on the internet for the rest of your life. You're 40. For fuck's sake, grow up. I love you. Call me.
Or shoved her
Call me, Max. We're gonna be friends. Call me.
around or slapped her around a little bit.
I'm sorry. He's old. I'm allowed to go after Max. He's old. He's condescending, and he thinks he's fucking right. So frankly,
why would you want to be friends with somebody like that? Like, I don't understand. Like, if you have these like major issues with him, what am I supposed to do here? Like, I'm fucking soft lock. If you have these issues with him, why are you so desperate to be his friend? Like, what is it? Like, I guess you want to figure him out. Is that what it comes down to? But like it seems sometimes maybe you just don't interact with like bad people or people you think are bad.
I'm not punching down, right? Unless I am. If I am, I'll stop engaging. But
Bro, what the
if he's a
fuck are you
man,
doing?
like a grown up, not a man. If he's a grown up and I'm a grown up, I'm sorry. I'm gonna call it like I see it.
Don't you ever feel bad about that, because that's hot.
Boss fight is so boring.
That's passion,
Holy
baby.
fuck.
That's sexy. And it was really nice to hear, because when you're abusive, you're an abuser. You're a piece of shit.
Yes.
You're subhuman trash who deserves to lose your job and your family.
Probably.
And I was gonna say when I was writing this, your YouTube channel, but that was a few days ago. And I guess I'll just say it still, because your Vimeo channel doesn't have the same. I'll fucking probably lose that too by the time this goes up. But anyway, now that we're free to say anything, I will also add that one thing that confounds all of this is that I have definitely noticed some arousal in women after being violent towards them, and that's confusing when the person that you're hitting is naked with their legs
Sorry, Kuro, you're right. Let's leave the emo boys out of this.
What?
They are everything, and I love them.
spread 20 minutes later. It definitely reinforces the dynamic and then ties it to sex in like a really weird way. It makes it pretty hard to break the cycle.
I think what he's trying to say is that after. Okay, so here's when I remember seeing this clip on that fucking thing. So what it sounds like he's trying to say is that like 20 minutes after he fights, he has like makeup sex. What I find kind of ridiculous about that, though, is that he thinks that means that they get horny from the abuse, which is not at all. It sounds like more you have like a pattern of fighting. Like if you said that, like, oh, maybe you feel like somebody's trying to encourage you to be angry because you would have good sex after. I mean, I guess maybe you have an argument there. I don't know. It sounds like he thinks that, dude. I'm not even fucking attacking. I'm trying to get away. It sounds like he thinks that women get horny from it, but it sounds more like he would engage in a toxic cycle of like fighting and then having sex. And like, so it's like 20 minutes later, yeah, I guess that's just the pattern. Maybe they did that just to placate you, because they thought it would calm you down, or maybe you would be abusive for sex and maybe they felt afraid in some capacity. I don't really know the specifics, but the way that he's framing it just seems like not correct. Can I kill all these? Oh, cool. Maybe these guys can help me then.
But that's what you have to do.
You have to break it.
I mean, no matter what happens.
Twisted, I'll leave the emails alone, but I am going to hold Max accountable for being 38 and saying he's lived this life and saying he has the right to tell everyone they're wrong, and he's a snitch. I don't trust snitches. So like, he's not only a snitch, but he's a person who like isn't willing to handle the consequences of his own actions and how they impact communities. And though he's hit women, he still verbally abuses them, so I'm over it. And I don't care that they're all consenting to it. That's fine, but I would not recommend somebody date a person who...
I probably wouldn't phrase it. They're consenting to, like, okay, they're consenting to be in an abusive relationship. Okay, but that doesn't make the abuse okay. But okay, all right.
Verbally abuse their partners, but that's on him. He can if he want. How did he snitch? He reported Dr. K to the board because he decided his feelings were hurt. He literally said that to Not So Airtight. He said, "I am upset that Dr. K is ruining something I love, so I reported him because I believe he broke a rule." That's it. Okay. He's making it clear that he has decided because he feels this way.
I imagine he doesn't control the board, so unless Dr. K was doing something wrong, I don't think it would matter. I mean, it might be like a selfish thought, but like, did they remove Dr. K's license? Because then I guess he was actually doing something wrong, and it's probably a good thing you reported them. Because then they can't do, like, I don't know, then they can't do something wrong in the future.
He gets to do what he wants. That's fine, but he doesn't consider how that's going to impact all of psychiatry, all of medicine, how things are going. And Not So Airtight tried to explain to him why it's not reasonable, Max, but Max has decided, nope, Max is right, so Max matters and only Max matters. That's fine. That's exactly what people do. I'm not mad about that. But that is the issue with Max. That is the issue with Max. Is that
Why do you keep saying that's just what people do if I'm not mad? You're very clearly mad. Why do you use it as like a cope? I mean, I know people do this, but I'm not mad. It's like, yes, you are. You're mad. And like, yes, people do things that are bad, but you're allowed to be mad at it because that's one of the ways, I mean, you would imagine that they would change behavior. How the fuck do I get up here? Why do you keep saying you're not fucking mad? It's so bizarre. I don't understand.
He thinks, I've made the decision, I am right. He literally knew about Reckful for 1 month. He goes, I just learned who Reckful was, and I am so upset. His own personal issue is causing him to cause more issues for other people. That's an issue, okay? Adult to adult, I'm so fine with talking to MrGirl. I have no problem with Max. I'm so excited to talk to him. I think he'll be really good if he wants to hash it out with me. I'm a passionate person. I'm a Middle Eastern woman. One of my friends actually recently told me, he's like, hey, can you talk more monotone? I was like, no.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm not going to talk calmer. I'm not going to talk slower. I'm not going to talk less Middle Eastern. If you have a problem with the way I talk and you think it's unreasonable or angry or manic, you can go be racist somewhere else. Okay? If you hang out with real Middle Eastern people, if you hang out with people of color, we loud. And if you don't like it, go be white somewhere else. Or in Max's case, go be Jewish somewhere else. Okay?
What the fuck? I'm so confused.
But if you would like to judge me on my ideas, absolutely. If you would like to have a conversation about what I'm saying, absolutely. Okay? But I will not be told that the way I naturally talk is manic or crazy when my people be talking like this since day one, as we are in the Bible. Okay? We are a part of the founding fathers of Christianity, bitch, and Judaism. Okay? Chaldeans represent. I will not be told that the way I talk
seems like a random segment at the end of this
is a mental illness by anybody when this is just cultural. Absolutely not. Okay? So if Max would like to contend with me, I'm putting myself out there. I would love to collab with Max Carson. If he would like to talk to me, let's go. I'll even have Justy moderate if that would be better. But I have no reason to back down. I'm open to being transparent, but you know. Let's see if I get that DM. Let's go, Max. DM me right now, bitch. I already DM'd him a few days ago. I said I want to talk again. He said about what? And I said, oh, bitch, we got plenty to talk about, bitch. Okay, let's go. You know, and I hope people are good. Actually, Unexpected Glimmer says she just wants people to know she isn't white for anyone here because we all know she's perceived as white by everyone looking at her. Max's comments kept saying things like, you know, a white woman is obsessed when she raises her voice, or you know, a white woman is upset when she raises her voice. Yeah, I'm not white. Middle Eastern women, we just raise our voices, and I'm not going to stop. I'm literally, this is just how it goes. So I appreciate that people think white women who are not me, when they raise their voice, might be angry because white women maybe aren't angry. I don't know what white women are doing. Okay, but this is how I talk, and I will not be apologetic for the person that I've been since the day I was born. My mom said I came out screaming. She says I'm the loudest, most energetic, hyper person she's ever met. I am happy and gleeful, but I am also a fucking warrior. I will not back down when I've worked so goddamn hard to be this person, and this person is fire. This person is awesome. Okay, so if you're gonna criticize me, you better know in what lens to judge me by. I'm not white. Not white American, I'm white skinned, but I'm a Middle Eastern woman. I'm 1000% Middle Eastern, and I will fly that flag proud and strong. Got it? All right. Okay. So you guys need to talk again because you need to clarify a lot of the things with him. Yeah, we will. It'll be fun. It'll be great. Like, as long as he can handle it, it'll be fine. As long as we can talk, it'll be great.
I'm assuming the rest of this is just her kind of rambling. No offense to her, but okay. Interesting segment. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.